Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. Madam, waiting for participants to join. Once they will come, I'll start my session.
Okay, sir.
ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ತೀಯ ಶುಭಾ?
Yes, ma'am. Is it audible and visible, madam?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
I think participants have joined, madam. Can we start now?
Yeah, we have left out 3 more minutes, so I thought we'll wait.
Yeah.
Yes, Shobha, we can start.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's afternoon session. So we all know that diabetics is a chronic condition in which the body develops a resistance to insulin, a hormone which converts our food into glucose. Diabetes is affecting many people across the world and is normally divided into two types, as we all know, that is type 1 and type 2 diabetes. And a lot of studies is going on in this area to predict and suggest the best possible treatment. So in today's session, we are going to learn about the analysis of these diabetes data by our speaker for today's session. So I would like to introduce our today's presenter for the session 5, Dr. Harshavardhan Tiwari. Dr. Harshavardhan Tiwari is working as Associate Professor in Center of Incubation, Innovation, Research and Consultancy, Bangalore. Sir's research interests include data mining, machine learning, data science, deep learning, algorithms, database management system, as well as information security. Sir has published many research articles in national and international journals as well as in conferences, and his research papers are indexed in Scopus and DBLP. Sir has also got a lot of copyrights in his credits. And Sir has also completed several certified programs in new technologies under the NPTEL initiative, which is a motivating thing for each and every faculty. Dr. Harshavardhan Tiwari sir has worked on different multidisciplinary projects like machine vision based food grading system, building tongue diagnosis system in Ayurveda using image processing and machine learning techniques, yield prediction system and chaotic image encryption scheme. Sir has also conducted various workshops on recent IT technologies and has worked for different accreditation process also. Sir has mastered several programming languages and programming skills, which includes Python, MySQL, NumPy, Matplotlib, Pandas, and Seaborn, and many more. Currently, he is guiding 4 PhD scholars, and his research work mainly focuses on different applications of machine vision. Sir is an active member of many professional scientific bodies such as IAENG, ICST, IEI, and also a reviewer for journals such as EJI, JECI, and SSCC. So it's a great honor to have you for this session, sir. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you for the session. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Sir?
Hello, sir.
So thank you, Shobha Madam, for my detailed introduction to the participant. And my major task of defining the diabetes, you have successfully completed. So I can directly jump to the soft computing technique. And here I have written it as the ANN model for diabetes prediction. But I'm going to cover the basic machine learning algorithm as well as the artificial neural network model for the diabetes prediction. Here I'm not going to specify, or here I'm not going to teach on the machine learning algorithms or the artificial neural network. If you are new to these machine learning And if you are new to the artificial neural network, or if you are new to the soft computing techniques also, you can still synchronize with this topic, that how this today's artificial intelligence or the techniques whatever used for the soft computing methods are useful in prediction of the this deadly diseases or the different chronic diseases. So if you don't know, then also you can synchronize with this presentation or use this methods. You just have to concentrate on how these methods have been applied, or what these methods are doing, what they are actually, that I will tell you. And if you are a novice in the programming languages also, so it's not a problem. Section wise I'll define that what each section is doing, or what is the role of each particular section in this complete process of the prediction. So now be with me and try to synchronize whatever I am telling. Need not to deep dive into the topic or the understand the technical aspects. As I told you, I am not here to teach you the machine learning and the ANN, just how these techniques can be useful for the prediction of the diabetes. So I'll start with some very introductory to the neural network. So artificial neural network, that artificial neural network is having some algorithms, and those are just following the process how the human brain works. So this is a simple thing. So these are the human brain structure, where the dendrites are there, the axon is there, and the nucleus is there. So here body will be known as the neuron cell body, where the processing of the data happens, and then in the electrical signal format they will transmit the data to the next axon, and axon will transmit to the synapse, and then it will go to the one neuron to the another neuron. This is what the whole structure has been defined here. So external signal received by the dendrites, then those external signals are processed by the neuron cell body, then this process signal converted to the output signal, and those are transmitted through the axon, and output signal again received by the dendrites for the further processing. So here these steps, the step 1 to step 4 has been defined into the artificial neural network. This was the working of the human brain in this format. Now the artificial neural network takes the input from the dendrites, outputs in the form of the dendrites they are generating. Here the processing is happening on the second phase. Third phase is generating the output. Here if you can see, the inputs are different and the weights are different. So these weights are there to give the strength to the input signal. What actual value you are supposed to provide to those weights, that is secondary, but the actual input is the x1, x2, x3. And to provide the strengthening to these signals, input signals, you are using certain weights. So one nice example has been given. This example tells us that a bank wants to assess whether to approve the loan application to a customer or not. So it has some inputs here. The customer ID, obviously this is not the useful, because whatever ID is, it does not give the idea about the loan, the defaulter, yes or no. This is an example that how ANN works. Then I'll come to the diabetes prediction also. So here customer age is there, and adapt ratio is there, what percentage of the income it is getting, monthly income is what, and based on these three parameters we have to identify the, or we have to predict whether the loan defaulter is there or not. Yes means 1 and 0 means no. So here what they have done, as you can see, they have this x1, x2, x3, the age, debt ratio, and the income. We have some processing units. These processing units are known as the hidden layer. Certain weights have been given to this input parameters. Those are multiplied, and then output always happens with a particular activation function. This activation function will generate, it will reach to certain threshold, and then it will output. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. It's clear.
Yeah, I think someone was asking any question.
No, sir.
No.
MOA केलेला आहे डॉक्टर प्रसाद संजय
I think we have to mute.
जे सर्टिफिकेट आयुष
I think someone has to mute.
He has
Yeah.
unmuted. We'll mute him.
Right. No problem. So here, these hidden layers are the processing layers where they will process something and generate the output. So,
नाही
so
आता हे आपले
these layers are there.
सर आपल्या कॉलेजच्या अख्खे हे आहेत
हो आहेत की
पण योगा टीचरच
हो
आहे त्यांना वेळ नसतो म्हणाले
I request participants to mute themselves. Yeah. So the three layers are there: input layer, hidden layer, and the output layer. So I was talking about this architecture. This architecture is known as the multi-layer perceptron here, where the hidden layer is the distillation layer. And madam, can you mute them from your side?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here the hidden layer are known as the distillation layer, and this works for the passes to the next layer. That is the one processing will happen. So I'll just repeat it again. Whatever happened. So here some input parameters are there. Those input parameters are just to strengthen those. We are multiplying with some weights, and then we are generating the output based on some threshold value. And these threshold values are known as the activation function to generate the required output. In each layer, this input signals are processed, and the best of those inputs are going to forward to the next layer. This is known as the multi-layer perceptron. It can happen, it can pass on the information in the forward direction, it can pass on the information in the backward direction. This activation function is used for activating or generating the output. That sigmoid function, 10H function, softmax function, ReLU functions are the activation functions. Here we are using the sigmoidal function, and that will generate the output between 0 and the 1. And weights are telling what if the W1 is 0.56 and W2 is 0.92, that means what WT is having more importance as compared to the W1 to predicting the H1 output. This is what, so we are using the optimal value of the weights to generate the output, and certain techniques are there that how to get the optimization of that particular weight thing. So we are using the gradient descent techniques. You can get through the details. I have already shared with the details. So some techniques are also there that how to optimize the algorithms. One of the optimization algorithm is the gradient descent. And here the advantages are what, that initial inputs are what they are establishing the relationship between the inputs, and you can infer the unseen relationship on the unseen data. So this is the major advantage of any software, any soft computing techniques, whether it is machine learning or it is the artificial neural network. So this is the best thing about it. Some are the forward and some are the backward. So when you are comparing with the output and you are coming back pass on that inputs or the to the subsequently backward direction, then it will be the backward direction. This is only the type of the network, what type of the network you can use. And applications are forecasting, image processing, character recognition, all these things are there. So now that I am coming to the case study. So here, before coming to this one, I just wanted to give you the an overview of this technique, that what it is. So we are taking for the for this case study is the PIMA data set. What is the PIMA data set? I'll come to that later on. What is diabetes? That is the chronic and the complex metabolic disorder. The diabetes is a health problem worldwide. The diabetes is one of the oldest disease. It is known that it is 3000 years ago in the Egyptian history. It is somewhere in the literature it was mentioned about the diabetes. In the 1936, diabetes has been divided into the two types. One is the type 1 and the type 2. Type 1 is the insulin dependent diabetes, where there is a that generates a little or the no insulin by itself, and the second type of where the adults or their children, they become resistant to the insulin. So these two types of the diabetes are there. So any type of the diabetes that needs the affordable treatment and obviously the insulin. So this is the prevalence of the diabetes all over the world in the 2040 it will happen. So as you can see that it is increasing highly in the Asian specific region, and almost all the region of the world it has covered. According to the recent WHO report, the 422 million people worldwide have the diabetes as of now, and the 1.5 million people have died due to the diabetes or due to the diabetes related diseases. So 1 in 11 people have the diabetes. So now this complete case study is based on the PIMA data set. So this PIMA data set is what uh, there is a community of the Paima Indian in the USA that living in the Phoenix, Arizona, USA, and these community ladies or the females are highly prone to the diabetes. So what happened? This National Institute of Diabetes and the Digestive and the Kidney Disease Department has conducted a study on the females of this community. So as a sample, they have taken the 768 adult females there, and they have conducted on the various parameters. And then they have conducted the diagnosis test, and all the participants were females. All the participants were having the age greater than 20. And this diagnosis test conducted during the first trimester of their pregnancy. So the condition was that first of all, it has to be conducted on the females because that particular community is highly prone to the diabetes. And then they should be pregnant. Their age should be greater than 20, and that to be in their first trimester of the pregnancy. So this was the case study has been held by NIDDK in the USA, and out of total participants, it was found that 34.9%, that is the 268 women, were diagnosed with the diabetes, and the remaining were not diabetic. So this was their finding, this was their sample, and this they have studied there. Now, various parameters have been collected by the team, and based on that, they have identified the 8 main features. And these 8 main features are considered to be important for predicting any diabetes mellitus. So, the clinical name for the diabetes disease is the diabetes mellitus, that is maybe a type 1 or the type 2. And here, these parameters are the most important for prediction of the diabetes in a patient. So here, these 8 parameters, since it was conducted on the female, so these are the parameters: the pregnancy, the number of the times the sample has been pregnant, and the glucose, the plasma glucose, that is mg upon dl, that unit they have taken, blood pressure, skin thickness, insulin, BMI, that is the body mass index, diabetes pedigree function, that is the inheritity. If they have in their parents, then this function will be worked. Age, what is the age of the patient, and all these things they have considered for the prediction of the diabetes. Now, once you have the parameters, then those parameters how you can use, that is main thing. So here the feature wise, the zero values they have identified in the PIMA dataset. If you have the zero values, that means that particular thing is not giving any information. Zero available in the dataset means you have the information loss. Now here, for certain parameters, 0 is acceptable. For certain parameters, 0 is unacceptable. So it is the role of data scientist, or it is the role of the of the data engineer to identify which parameter is useful for predicting the outcome variable. In this outcome variable, total 9 features are there. Out of 9 features, the 8 features are contributing to the outcome variable or the class variable. That class variable is known as the outcome variable, whether it will take the binary value 1 and the 0. So 1 will be diabetic, 0 will be non-diabetic. So we have to measure that what is the impact of the pregnancy on the outcome variable, what will be the impact of the glucose on the outcome variable, and so on with blood pressure, skin thickness, insulin, BMI, diabetes pedigree function, or the age. So now when we have analyzed this data set, then we identified that certain features are having some zero values. Zero values means it may be the erroneous value you can consider. Erroneous values means what? It is a survey. In a survey, if the manual entries are happening and manually someone has forgotten or someone forgot to enter the value or someone has by mistake has put the zero there, or we don't have the valid value for that entry or the feature and we have replaced those values with the zeros, then that is also a possible case. So ultimately, in conclusion, what is the happen there, that in the building of the soft computing model or the machine learning or the deep learning model, that model is having the certain number of the parameters. Those 8 parameters are having certain number of the zero values. If that parameter, this is the medical diagnosis, in the medical diagnosis, if certain parameter will have the zero values, that is either dangerous or it is not having any significant contribution to the outcome variable. So zero is non-acceptable. In certain features, the zero is acceptable. So you have to identify in which feature you have to accept the zero value. For example, if pregnancy attribute is having a zero value, that means that lady is not the pregnant. That is acceptable. But if you tell that blood pressure is zero, that means that person is not alive only. So here we have to think about where the acceptance of the zero values and where the rejection of the zero values. So after analyzing the data set, we identified that these are the total contribution of the zero values in the different features. For pregnancy, it is 14.5. 0.7% for the glucose, 4.6, 29.6 for the subsequent features. So here, as you can see, age is having the total zero value is the zero. That means some age is ranging. So here we have kept some zero values which are the valid, and we have replaced the zero values with the mean value or the median value or the mode value. That will be the appropriate replacement of that values. So that we have done, because zero values is nothing, that is the information loss. Now few techniques also we have applied for our data set, and these techniques are known as the oversampling and the undersampling. What is the oversampling and the undersampling? When we have the outcome variable, as you can see, the outcome variable 65.1% is telling that is the non-diabetic. Rest of the 268 are the diabetic. That means that class distribution, when you build the model, the machine learning model or the deep learning model, it needs certain training set for learning the prediction or for learning the patterns. So what is happening, you have a model, you are giving the input to that model. Based on that inputs, you are showing some outputs also. So that model is learning based on those inputs that this will be the output if the pattern will be this kind of. If you are giving a different kind of the pattern, the output will vary accordingly. So it has learned over the time that this pattern will result in this output, this pattern, that pattern will result in this output. So this kind of discrimination a model can learn. So here, when we are talking about the oversampling and the undersampling, why it matters, because in this case this is the imbalanced data set. Imbalanced data set means what? Here I have majority class or the majority outcome variable for the non-diabetic. Total sample is 768. Out of 768, 65% are the non-diabetic cases. So my model will learn most of the time for the non-diabetic patterns only. It will be difficult for the model to predict the pattern when it will come for the unseen pattern for the diabetic one. So features related to the diabetic outcome variable will be difficult to identify as the model is not trained on the diabetic pattern. So this is known as the imbalanced data set. So how to handle this imbalanced data set problem, that is quite nicely is done by the two techniques, and these two techniques are known as the oversampling techniques and the undersampling techniques. So oversampling means what? Here the class variable 500 is showing what? That is the non-diabetic case, 268 for the diabetic case. So this 268, either I have to reach to the 500, so I will have the 500 non-diabetic cases and the 500 diabetic cases. Undersampling, what I can do, I can downsample this 500 to the 268 value. So I will have the 268 diabetic cases and the 268 non-diabetic cases. So these are the techniques to use. I'll not go to the details. I am just giving you the overview of that, how it works, what will be the outcome. So it will generate between the 2 points some new points by applying this synthetic minority oversampling. So you have done the oversampling for the minority class. In this case, the minority class is the diabetic class. So it will generate some samples for the diabetes. It will generate some random input patterns, and accordingly it will generate it will be mapped to the diabetic cases. So here in this way you can generate some samples by you. Now the another important uh, aspect in this method or the technique or the process, I'll share you the process, complete process with you. So that is the feature important analysis. The feature important analysis tells what? That here I have certain number of the parameters. So I have blood pressure, I have pregnancy, I have diabetes pedigree function, BMI, age, skin thickness, glucose, insulin. Out of this, how the important feature is for predicting the outcome variable. Outcome variable is what? Outcome variable is my the class variable, whether the person is whether the female is diabetic or not. So as you can see, some techniques are there. Those techniques, when you are applying to that one, like you can apply the random forest technique, or you can apply the Pearson correlation technique, or the many other techniques are there. Those techniques are leading to the feature importance. So feature importance is what? That to analyze, to measure the input variables or the input parameter for the prediction of the outcome variable. As you can see, I have applied some techniques, and outcome of that technique is telling what? Insulin is having the higher impact on the outcome variable. The glucose is having the higher impact on the outcome variable. The skin thickness is having the outcome variable. The blood pressure and the pregnancy have the equal importance on the outcome variable. So these are the techniques for identifying the feature importance. One more technique is coming, that is the feature selection. It does not necessary that you have to go on with these 8 features only. If you are comfortable, and if you are thinking, that your particular model is happening here, and this model is generating for Yeah. So I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so these are the techniques to identify the correlation between the features and the feature importance between the different feature. One of them is the Pearson correlation. So here we can see from this one, the as you can move towards the -1 and the +1, the correlation is high between the different parameters. So if I want to identify the correlation between the pregnancy and the outcome variable, it is coming around 0.22. If the glucose, you can see the glucose is coming as the 0.7. So this is the method to use the correlation or the impact of the outcome variable or the impact of the input feature on the outcome variable. This you can identify. Separately, you can identify the other features, how they are depending, how the glucose is depending on the age, how the skin thickness is depending on the BMI. All these things are possible. So here the last column, if you can see, the pregnancy is having 0.22, the glucose is having the impact for the 0.47. The high correlation will show the values between the -1 and the +1. And the blood pressure is not having that much importance on the diabetes. Skin thickness is also not that important, 0.13, 0.29, 0.17, 0.24. Among all these things, the glucose level is the highest impact feature, input feature on the outcome variable. So this is the way you can, so this is very briefly, I have told you that how to identify the features, how to identify the zero values in the parameter, how to oversample, how to undersample, how to do the feature important analysis, how to establish the correlation between the features. The next theme are these all processes, that is the cleaning, the data cleaning, the identification of the feature, the replacement of the zero values, replacement of the null values, the replacement of the missing values. All these things are known as the data pre-processing, and the processing comes when after that you have to build the model. So there are certain techniques for building the model for prediction of the outcome variable. Some techniques are whether you know or you don't know, you do not bother about all these techniques. Just you keep in mind that these techniques are used for model building, and what model does, that model the prediction based on this input features. Sometimes logistic regression technique can outperform the ANN also. So these are the different techniques, and I have given example of some like logistic regression, k-nearest neighbor, support vector machine, random forest classifier, gradient boosting techniques, voting, or the bagging. All these techniques are possible for the model building. Now, after building the model, how to judge that how the model has performed, how to judge that my model is good, my model is bad, how my model has performed, what is the outcome of the model, whether I should use this prediction model or not. Because prediction is for your diabetes prediction. So that model for the medical predictions, for the medical case prediction, it has to be very accurate. At least it has to go beyond 70% or the 75%. So here to evaluate the model I have built on some techniques, and after that I am evaluating the model. So some techniques are there: accuracy, precision, recall, and the F1 score. All these parameters are depending on the some certain, these are the performance matrices for the model, and these techniques are based on these performance matrices are based on the confusion matrix. As you can see, this is a confusion matrix. So here I have taken the example, that is the total number of sample are 160, and the predicted class either binary, that is the no or the yes. And if your model has predicted no and actually that output is no, then it will be known as the true negative. If your model has predicted yes, but that actual output class or the outcome variable is no, then it will be known as the false positive. And similarly, if your predicted class is no and your actual class is yes, it is known as the false negative. If your predicted class is yes and your actual class is yes, then it is known as the true positive. So So TN, FP, FN, TP, among that, this diagonally, if you can see, that is the true negative and the true positive. This indicates the accuracy of your model. So 85 plus 36, these are the accuracy decisions made by your model for this prediction of the outcome variable. So this is known as the model evaluation. So this complete introduction I have given you for the PyMA dataset and what are the techniques are used for this PyMA dataset, how it is used, how you can use these different techniques for the uh, for the um, for the prediction of the database. I am coming to the on the previous slide, and data set, and this is the data science process. So this processes, I just wanted to show you. This process tells us what, that first of all you define whatever is your research goal. In this particular research goal, it was like the predicting the diabetes, retrieving the data. So they have conducted the diagnosis on the females, and they have collected the diagnosis data, the data preparation, remove the zero values, remove the null values, remove the missing values from the data set. And after that, data exploration. Sometimes the data itself tells many stories. So without pre-processing data, if you are analyzing the data by visualizing the pattern of the data, then it is known as the data exploration. After that, you have to model the data. I have told you how to model, how to build the model, and based on certain algorithms, and then you can do the presentation, and you can present management or the industry or the decision makers, and based on your suggestion they will take the decision. So these are the 6 steps what is most important. So whether it is context or not, you have to be clear, and the good understanding of the context is required. You have to create a project charter. When you are going to finish this, you have to retrieve the data. Sometimes you will not get the data inside the loop, inside the company, inside the parameter. You may have to reach out outside to collect the data. That you have to do. You have to create the database warehouse or the marts. You have to store within the data. That is the, don't be afraid to shop around. That means you have to collect the data from outside also. Many open sources are there for your things. And the cleaning, integrating, and the transforming, this is very important parameters. How to be truly and the consistent with your data, that only possible with the cleaning of the data. Suppose in one column we are writing the gender of a person, and gender of the person, for example, only the two genders I am considering, that is the female and the male. Here the female, in when I am doing the data entry, sometimes I request you to mute, please, participants. So sometimes by mistake, if someone is writing in the data column as the female or the F, this is, both are indicating the female. But if my data standard is telling the F, I have to write the F. I cannot write the female. This should be there. Suppose I am working in the dollars and the entry happened in the rupees. That is also the cleaning of the data is required. Sometimes you have to remove the outliers from the data set. This is the outlier of the data set. As you can see, data entry errors, maybe you have to take only the two values. That is the, if your variable is taking the two values, that is the good or the bad, and someone has by mistake has written the godo as the bad a. So this kind of the manual data entries errors are possible. Those also you have to clean from the your data set, and you have to convert them to the proper value of the good and the bad. Redundant white spaces, suppose the white spaces are there, you have to remove the white spaces. Many times a country a country entry is there and you are writing the capital INDIA, but it is accepting as the a small INDIA. It is case sensitive, so smaller case will not go for the uppercase letters. Impossible values you have to ignore. If someone has written the 500 in the age column, this is not possible. So impossible values you have to check. Sanity of the values you have to check. Outliers you have to remove. Outliers are are the destroyer for the prediction technique. So each time you have to take care about the outliers, dealing with the missing value. If the data appropriate value is not there, so what you have to do, you have to perform the ETL process. This ETL process is known as the extraction, transformation, and the load. So here the dealing with the missing values, many techniques are there. I cannot go through everything, but I'll just tell you what these techniques are doing. Sometimes transformation is also needed. In the transformation, what happened here, I am going to place a straight line. I am not matching all the input points to the straight line. So what I did, I have taken a log of them. So which transformation is applicable for the input data, that also you can check. Redundant values you can remove. You can do the exploratory data analysis. Exploratory data analysis is extremely important in any prediction method. Exploratory analysis does not do any processing. I am again repeating, the exploratory data analysis does not perform any processing task. Exploratory data analysis only visualize the graphs or the patterns of the data. So it may be a histogram, it may be a frequency representation, it may be a box plot, it may be a bar chart, it may be a pie chart, it may be a any kind of the plot graph that you have to use. Then you have to build the model, and after building the model, you can go ahead with your prediction of the data set. So I hope this overall structure of the prediction of the method, or overall how this processes works, it is clear to you. Now I am moving towards a very important aspect of this, that is the case study, how to uh, implement. Again I am telling you, if you have the doubt, and so you can just wait till the end of this session, then you can ask your questions. And second important thing, do not hesitate for understanding of this code. If you don't know also the Python, don't worry. The knowledge of programming language is not important here. How this flow of the work is going on, you have to synchronize with that one. So be with me and try to synchronize, try to understand the flow of the code. That will be more than enough. So here I am starting with some import statements. Here I have highlighted. So how this will go, that is the import pandas as the PD. This is for the data frame. All the important libraries, all the important packages I have imported that are used for prediction of the diabetes. So these are the important libraries, these are the important packages, these are the important uh, libraries which are used for training the model, or the testing the model, or for the prediction or the building the model. So here this PD is for the data frame. This is aliasing I am using the NumPy. It is the numeric Python for the as the NP. This is also the aliasing. One sklearn model selection I am doing, because one part will go for the training, one part for go for the testing. So you how you can split, that will come here. These two are the visualization packages. Those are the Seaborn and the Matplotlib. These are the model building libraries. The model building libraries we have seen, that is the support vector machine. We have seen the nearest neighbor. You have seen the NeoBase, the Gaussian classifier. It may be a random forest classifier, decision tree classifier, any classifier it can be done. Here what I am doing, this pandas is having a function of the read CSV. This CSV is nothing, that is the data set where this survey has been taken and this survey has been represented. So this how this CSV file looks like and how this takes the data I am sharing with you. So you can check out this. So this is your database. This is your file, your data set. Here all the important features are given. Here all the features have been given. The last one is the outcome variable. It is having the binary values, and other parameters are having some values, like glucose is 148, age is 50, and certain age is 60, 22. Some BMI values are there. Here we have the BMI as 0. Here you can see the blood pressure is 0. Here you can see the skin thickness is 0. So these 0 values are non-acceptable. You cannot accept these medical parameters as the 0. So this is the total 768 samples are there, and these 768 samples are for the PIMA category, or the PIMA community. Females are there for that. So these are in this data set. These are the input parameters. This highlighted are the input parameters, and this one, the last one is the outcome variable. So this outcome variable is based on this 8 input parameters. So this is your CSV file. So here I have used the data frame, the pandas data frame, and that is using the read CSV is the file. This is my path where it is, and diabetes.csv is the file name. Here one function has been used as the dataset head. This dataset head will do what? It will take the few lines from that dataset. By default, if you will not give any value, then it will do what? It will take only the few entries. So here I am giving the dataset dot head, and I am not passing any parameter into this function. So what it will do, it will take only the first 5 rows of that data set, and it will display. This is just to check out how my data set look like. What is my data set? How many features are there? What kind of the values the data set has taken? All these things is noticeable in this dataset dot head. So by default, the first 5 rows 0 to 4 it will take, and these are the sample values for that data set. If you want to give any parameter here, if I am giving you 10, then what it will do? It will consider only the first 2 values. Other values it will not show. So this is the way you can. It's taking long time to execute that one, but 2 will do what? The 2 will execute only the first 2 rows from that data set. As I told you, 0 and the 1. And if you want to see the more data set values or the rows, you can display the 10. It will display from the 0 to 9. So this is the dataset dot had, just to check out that how many values are existing, how many values are present there, and what kind of the values each parameter is considering, what are the outcome variables, and all these things. Now here, fortunately, we don't have any null value in this data set. So data cleaning process takes the most of the time. I should say the data cleaning will take the 80% task, 80% of effort of any data science engineer or the data scientist. So fortunately, in this PIMA dataset, there is no null value. If the null value is there, then those null value you have to take care. Now, those null values you have to replace by the appropriate value. Appropriate value may be in case of the average, mode, mean, median, anything replacement you can do with the null values. Sometimes there are the question marks, sometimes there are some erroneous values. So those you have to identify, and after identification of those values, you have to replace them with the appropriate values. This you have to done. So one function is there, that is the data set is my data set, where I have read complete this CSV file into a variable. that variable is having null or not. This is null will give you that whether that data set is having the null values or not. And if you want to check that how many total null values per input parameter is existing, then you have to use dot sum. So this is the way you will be able to identify whether the data set is having the null value. Fortunately, there is no null value, 000 is coming. I want to check how many dataset columns are there. So you have to use this column function, and that will give all the column names for that data set. Here pregnancy, glucose, blood pressure, skin thickness, insulin, BMI, and the diabetes pedigree function, age, and the outcome. This is the way you can identify the number of columns present in your data set. I'll come to this later on. Before that, I want to show you that here I have the exploratory data analysis. What is the exploratory data analysis? That is, I told you exploratory data analysis is the main part of any pre-processing. Exploratory data analysis does not include any kind of processing. It is just visualizing the data pattern. It is just getting the overview of your data set, how your data set look like, how many zero values are there, what is the mean value, what is the mode value, what are the how many rows are existing for a particular. So these are the, when you give the profiling of your data set, that there is a this EDA is nothing, that is the exploratory data analysis. This exploratory data analysis is possible with the pandas profiling. This profiling, you have to generate the report on your data set, and it will give this, and it will generate this profiling. So data set information, what it has given, number of variables are 9. Out of this 9 variables, the 8 variables are the numeric variables, and the one variable, that is the outcome variable, is the Boolean variable. If some categorical variables are there, it will show. If some date is there, it will show. If some text is there, it will show. So all kind of variable it will show. This report will generate how many observations are there. Observation means how many samples are there. 768 samples are there. How many missing are there? That is, no missing is there. What is the memory it has taken? How many zero values are there? It is only telling from your side that warnings are there. The BMI, blood pressure, insulin, pregnancy, and the skin thickness is having this many zero values. If you want to do something for the zero values, you can do the zero values. Now it will take one by one all the variables, and it will say whether the normal distribution is existing or not. What is the mean value? What is the minimum value? What is the maximum value? So it is telling that minimum value of the age is 21, maximum value is the 81. There is no zero. The mean value is happening the 33.241. So in case if you don't have any cell value for the age, what you can do, you can replace that value with the mean value. How many quartile values are there, how many unit values are there, all this information as per the variable it will define. It will show you outcome variable. It is showing that 500 non-diabetic cases are there. Those are represented by the 0. 268 are the diabetic cases. Those are represented by the 1. The mean value is 0.34, and distinct count is 2. Distinct count is 2 means only the 2 possible values are there. Now for the pregnancies, there are the 17 distinct count. For the skin thickness, there are 51 distinct counts. And these are the Pearson correlation value. We have seen the Pearson correlation value. If it will be the highest correlation, it will be the dark. If it is the low correlation, then it will be the light. So this is the way. So both the way it has shown the correlation. If it is the dark blue, then it will represent the -1. If it is the dark red or the pink, then it will go for the 1. So this is very important for any data analysis, for any kind of the prediction. If you have done the exploratory data analysis, then it is useful. Otherwise you cannot build a proper model. So to describe the proper modeling for your data set, you have to do the exploratory data analysis. This is, I have given you a brief about. Coming back to my pre-prediction model, so I have checked here. that is there any null value existing in my data set? No, it is not existing. How many columns are there? These are my columns. These are the one test is there to identify the normal distribution in proper thing. Now I want to check. This is also the exploratory data analysis because I am using the graphs. Here I am using the Violin graph, and I want to check that for the each variable, here it is the glucose. In the glucose, I have plotted for the outcome variable how many values are there for the zeros outcome variable and the one outcome variable. This y dot in between is showing as the middle value. This extreme limit are showing the maximum and the minimum value. So this is with respect to the 0 and the 1. So 0 and the 1, I am getting these values. So I have written as I have separated the data set, and the data set based on the outcome. I am getting the shape. So this is the 268 for the 1. This 500 for the shape is the what? That is the how many number of rows and how many number of the columns are there. So df1 I have just separated based on the outcome of the 1, just to analyze the data, nothing else. This is the exploratory data analysis. So I am getting that 268.9, that is the df1 size and the df2 size. If it is 0, here, if I am getting the glucose value as the 0, because that extreme is going out, that one, then you replace it with the median of that glucose value. So it will be replaced. Since there is no much deviation, so it won't replace. So now I am getting the minimum value of the 44. 0 is not there, so not much difference in this one. I plotted the same technique with the blood pressure also. So blood pressure I have divided into with respect to the outcome. So I have 0 and the 1 outcome. As you can see, when I have predicted, or the model has the outcome variable as the 0, it is reaching towards the minus value. That is not practically possible. In the case of the 1 also, it is reaching the value of the 0 or the less. So when I am getting the blood pressure minimum value, I am getting as the 0. 0 is not acceptable for the blood pressure. So what I will do, I will check out, I have separated them and I have replaced those 0 values with the median values. So median values, and then finally df1 is corresponding to the 1, and the df2 is corresponding to the 0. I have merged the data from df1 df2. I have concatenated those into the final data set, and what I am getting, so this particular graph, what you are seeing, is reaching towards the 0 or the minus values. Now after the pre-processing, it is not reaching. When I have counted is the minimum, still it is non-acceptable value, but still it is coming as the 24, better than this 0. So this kind of value I have to perform on the blood pressure, I have to perform on the skin thickness, I have to perform on the skin thickness, I have to perform on the insulin, I have to perform in the case of all the BMI, diabetes pedigree function, and what I have done, I have replaced the non-acceptable values with the acceptable range, with the acceptable values that I have done. Now I am getting what are the values for this one. Since there is no null value, 0 0 0, it will come. Data set shape value I have taken, that is the 768 and the 9. Now here in the pre-processing technique, a very important technique has been involved, and this very important technique is known as the scaling of the data set. What is the scaling of the data set here? That is my age. So here again, if I go to the exploratory data analysis, then in the exploratory data analysis, I have certain values, and these values are telling what? That is the minimum value of the BMI is 0, maximum is 0.61, unique values are 32 point, and the distinct count is the 248. So in between 0 and the 67.1, I have 248 distinct value for the BMI. Here minimum value for the age is 21 and the 81 maximum value, and in between 21 and the 81 I have distinct 52 values. So what I mean to say, that is, in the input parameter we have the minimum value, we have the maximum value, and we have the certain number of the distinct values in between that maximum and the minimum ranges. So age is having different minima, the age is having the different maximum value, the BMI is having the different minimum and the maximum, the like that every parameter is having the different maximum, minimum and the distinct value count. So it will be difficult for any prediction model that you cannot accept that different ranges, you cannot accept the different values. If you have to come to the conclusion, if you have to predict something, you have to scale those values, and scaling of those values depends on how the minimum and the maximum is defined for that. So very good techniques are there. Those are known as the standard scaler and the min max scaler. So min max scaler will transform all the data values in between the 0 and the 1. So here I have separated my data set into the two parts. So one variable is having the y and one variable is having the x. Y is having the outcome variable and the x is having all the parameters. So here what I have done, from the data set I have dropped the outcome variable. X is equals to 1 means I want to drop that column, and I want to prepare the two data set, one for the input features and one for the output feature. Data set outcome will go to the y, that binary value will go to the y, and all the input parameters will go for the x. When I am doing the x columns, that will go to the x column. Scalar is scaling the values between the 0 and the 1, and what I am trying to transform, I am trying to transform all the columns here. So now I have a data set which is transformed. Now I am checking the age. So age is coming between the 0 and the 1. I am checking the BMI. It is coming between the 0 and the 1. Blood pressure, it is coming in the 0, 1. Then diabetic pedigree function, it is coming between 0 and 1. Glucose between 0, 1. The insulin, because 0, 1. The pregnancy, 0 and the 1. Whether it is pregnant or not, that will come. The skin thickness will come the 0 and the 1. So I mean to say, now you have the different parameters of the inputs. All those parameters are now minimized to or transformed to a particular value, particular range, and this range is the 0 to 1. Now this is the important part of the model building. We have transformed we have pre-processed the data, we have done the exploratory data analysis for our data. Now we have to how to split one part. A majority of the part of the data set will go for the training of the model. Based on that training part, the model will try to learn more things, and it will try to execute the unseen patterns for a particular output category. So this will happen with the help of the training and the test split. So here one sklearn model selection. Again, I am importing the trend test split. I have 4 parameter: xtrain, xtest for the training, ytrain, ytest for the for checking the validation of the model. So here I have used the split method. What I want to split? I want to split the data and y, and this will go for the test size 0.20. That means 20% will be my test size and the 80% will be my training size. Random state 101 means any number you can give anytime, any number of you can execute this. It will give the same split, same values. So that's why you can use any random state here. Now I am checking my shape and I am getting the shape as 614. This is exactly 80% of 768. And 20% will go for the testing, that is the 154. This is the y value. Now I have plotted some data here, and this I wanted to show you the effect of the scaling. The effect of the scaling tells me that although I have scaled my data set in between the 0 to 1, and that scaling is does not affecting any kind of the pattern of the data. So that is the beauty of this scaling. So before the scaling, this particular parameter is age, and age is starting from somewhere here and it is going towards this part, and it has not variated in the sense of 0 to 1. Now it has become the 0 to 1. So suppose I have taken the BMI. So BMI structure has not changed. So here I have the blood pressure. I have the before scaling, after scaling. As you can see, every value has been transformed from 0 to 1, but the actual pattern of that data is unchanged. That data is similar to the what it was earlier. So here, this is the way you can do the scaling. I have done the scaling for all the parameters. I have transformed them to the 0 to 1. And after doing this one, as I know that my data set is imbalanced data set, so what I will do the oversampling. So oversampling, I have defined a object of this mode technique, and then I have fit my sample of X train and the Y train, and I will do some training. So here it has become 768. Earlier it was what? Earlier it was some the shape was 768. After 768 I have done the 614. So as you can see, it has been now transformed to, after the oversampling, it has been transformed to uh, 796. I have not transformed to the this one. This will be the test data. Again I am checking the head. So in the head you can see every value is between the 0 and the 1. So now I have imported all the model performance matrices. I have taken all the performance matrices for my model, that is the confusion matrix, that is the accuracy score, that is the recall score, that is the precision score, F1 score, Cohen-Kappa score, ROC AUC curve, that is the area under the curve. I can import the classification report also. I can build any model. I have told you the model can be built on the various techniques, and this technique may be the SVC, KNN, Gaussian decision, logistic regression, random forest gradient boosting, MLP voting decision classifier, and the linear SVC. You have to select one of the model. So here, first of all, I am doing the feature importance. So there is a random classifier. This random classifier is used for the classification purpose, as well as it can be used for the feature importance. Which feature is more important, that you can do. So you have to define a object of that random classifier. You have to give this output variable and the input variable. Then you have to print the importance, and that importance is coming as like that insulin is having the highest impact on the variables. These are the variables in the form of the list. It has been show. Plt.show means matplotlib is there, that will show this graph. So this is shown by the soft computing technique is there for displaying the importance of the feature. After that, I know what are the important features are there in my model. This process will create a model building. How it will create the model building? First of all, you have to import the logistic regression from the linear model. Then you have to create a function for that one. You have to fit to the X train and the Y train. This X train is the certain input parameters. This Y train is the certain output parameter. That is based on this X train, this Y train will decide that this is the outcome. Now what Y prediction, that this is very important line where I am telling the logistic regression model to predict my X test. In this case, it is just going to, this is the learning. This line is the learning for the model. This line is very important. So your logistic regression model is learning on X train and the Y train. Your model is going to predict now on the X test, and what will be the accuracy score, it will be the actual X test result and the Y test result. Sorry, here Y test and the Y prediction. So it has predicted on the X test, it has predicted something. You have to test that. You have the actual value of Y test for this X test, and you have to test this with the Y prediction. So your accuracy will be depending on this actual Y test and the whatever the predicted value for that Y or X test. So this is the accuracy for that one. This is the prediction result for that one. When you will display the classification repeat for the Y test and the Y prediction, it will print the report. Here I am getting the logistic regression classifier on the test set. It is 0.78. That is the 78%. It is accurate. Accuracy for the logistic regression on the classifier for the training set, it is the 77%, and for the test set it is quite okay. Accuracy of the model is 78%, and this is the confusion matrix. As I told you, this diagonal values 84 and the 36 are the actual values, and these are deciding this 84 plus 36 are the correctly predicted values by the model, and these are the falsely predicted values of the model. As you can see, the false prediction number is less as compared to the accurately predicted values. So this is known as the confusion matrix. Now these important parameters are there: precision and the recall. This precision will tell you what it is, the ratio of correctly predictive positive observation. Positive observation means what? That is the true positive to the total predictive positive observation, that is the true positive or the true negative, that will be coming for the precision. So high precision rate relate the low false positive rate. We have got some 0.67 for this one. I am checking only for the diabetic. 0.67 is pretty good for any model, and recall is just how the negative it will be, that is for the actual class. Yes, so for that also we have received as the 0.69, which is good for and which is well above the 0.5. So this is also accepted. F1 is the average, or you can take the weighted average for the precision and the recall. It is also good. So this is the support for ultimately 154 values. These are the accuracy has come as the 78%. That is quite good, and you can generate the different confusion matrices for your work, that is sensitivity, specificity, precision, negative values, and all those things. It is there, and you can plot them. Area under the curve means what? This is the LR in this line. If you can see the true positive rate, whatever the true positive values are there, it's ranging from 0 to 1, and here it is the false positive rate. This curve should reach to the 1. So whatever the area is covered under this curve will show the accuracy of the model. It has to reach to the ideal one, it has to reach to the 1. So this is another important performance matrices for the model prediction. Here a brief ANN I am giving you. So we have used the TensorFlow. This TensorFlow is having the models. We have the sequential model like feed forward, feed backward, and the dense is the number of layers it will define. You have to read the data. This has read the data. Then you have splitted the data into the XY. X will contain all the features, Y will contain the outcome variable. This I have model as converted into the sequential thing. I have the 3 layers, that is the 12, 8, and the 1. These are the dense layer. Each layer is taking the ReLU, that one activation function. Sigmoid function is for the last row, and I have compiled this. The cross entropy I have used. Adam is the optimizer, and the matrices I have used as the accuracy. Here I am fitting the model on the X and the Y. My epochs means iteration of the same iteration will happen on the data set that I have taken the 100, and the batch size in the 1010 I have taken. So each epoch will give you some accuracy. So when I am seeing this accuracy, I am getting 74, 74, 74, 75, 74, 75, 76. Like that, I will receive all the accuracy for 100 epochs, that is the 100 iteration for the same data set. I have taken their accuracy. So accuracy I am getting here. And these are the sum compiled with some optimization value. So I am getting this highest accuracy for this model. So my accuracy is moreover ANN is not as accurate as the logistic regression. My logistic regression was coming as 78%, and that was pretty high. As you can see, that is 78% was there. Here it was the 78%. So it was quite high as compared to the ANN. So I'll stick to my logistic regression, and this is the way I can prepare a model for the prediction of any data set. So I am just revising. Import all the packages, import the data, see your data, check for any null values, see for the columns, check for the normal distribution, replace the median mode and the value by seeing them doing the exploratory data analysis. And after pre-processing of the data, what you can do, you can upscale or the downscale your data. You can transform your data. You can, if your data set is imbalanced, you can prepare some balancing in that data set. You can split into the train and the test. I have taken 80-20. You can take 70-30, 75-25, whatever, it depends on you. Now scaling of the data is very important. It has to be between the 0 1. All the data set should come into the particular range, and after coming it into the range, you have to split them into the sample size. So I have upscaled this data set to the 796. After that, you have to check the importance of the feature. These are the importance of the feature will come. Then you have to create object of the logistic regression. That logistic regression you have to fit on the X train and the Y train. That it will predict on the X test. It will be measured on the Y prediction. Y test, Y prediction will give the confusion matrix. That is the matrix for the true positive, true negative, false positive. Classification report will generate based on the classification technique that you can precision. These are the important performance criteria for any model, that is the precision, recall and the F1 score, that will be there. This is, you have built the another important performance metric, that is the area under the curve. This area will be considered for the accuracy of the model. And then you have done the 3-layer ANN architecture for your model. You have done some exploratory data analysis by looking at the graph and the histogram and all these things. The correlation also you have seen. This is the way you can do the exploratory data analysis. So we have built a nice model based on the data set given by the PIMA NIDDK on the PIMA community. We have predicted whether the females are going to be diabetic or not. And this is a small case study I have shared with you, that how to make the prediction, how to make the models, how to evaluate the model, how to generate the reports. So I am closing my session here. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now. Thank you very much.
Participants, if you have any queries, you can ask. I request our participants to ask any queries if you have.
Sir,
Sir, regarding
hello.
Madam, carry on. You are audible.
Yes, sir. Sir, you had used this ensemble learning method. So it's basically because different models gives us different results, no, sir?
Yeah, madam.
Is there like a definite method, like which model which should we use?
No, madam.
Or how do we decide about the model, sir?
No, madam. As you can see that I have used a large number of the techniques to create the predictive model. and I cannot judge. I have not used the ensemble technique also, sorry to correct you, but I have not used any ensemble predictive modeling here. And it's hit and try. It has to be based on all. You can create all the models, and after all, for as per the classification report, you can just take a decision which model. Sometimes, as I told you, I have done a lot for the for building the feed forward artificial neural network model for my diabetes prediction, but it was not up to the mark as compared to the logistic regression. Logistic regression is very simple technique. So it depends on how the model is performing, what are the accuracy we are achieving in the classification report. Based on that, you can take the model. There is no thumb rule for selecting the model.
Sir, say if we have used neural networks, so depending on the number of hidden layers, will the accuracy improve? In that case, instead of choosing some other model, can I use the same neural networks, and depending on the layers, can I improve the results?
Again, madam, I will suggest you to try out with the number of the neurons and the number of the hidden layer. There also there is no thumb rule for selecting the hidden layers and the number of the neurons. Yeah, hope for if you can do the hyper tuning parameters, hyper parameter tuning, then you can achieve some better accuracy in that case.
Okay, sir. One last question, sir.
Yeah, madam,
So
go ahead.
yes, sir. You had few metrics in the database. See, suppose there's one more parameter which is actually required for making this prediction. Can we derive out of this metrics which are already available and use as a separate derived metric in the database, sir?
Yeah, madam. Many statisticians are using not only the precision, accuracy, and F1 score. They are using the Cohen kappa also. They are using the sensitivity also, specificity also. So you have to go through the literature. Many other parameters are also there which can decide the accuracy of the model. You have to go through them, and you can try out all those things. I think for the medical things, it will be better you stick to the Cohen kappa.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, madam. Thank you, madam.
We can see one more participant with the question.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
A very good afternoon, madam.
Sir, I wanted to know about how the medical fraternity will help us in getting the data and giving the ground truth for analysis. Like whatever we analyze and get back to them, do they help us in improving our data set or the result?
Madam, in the PPT, I have shown you the 6 process of the data science.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes.
in that 6 processes, the first process tells us about the context of the research goal and the context of the research area. So we cannot be the domain expert. We are the software professionals and we are the academicians. So what we have to do, we have to contact to the domain expertise, and we have to ask for their problem statement, what they are feeling in their field according to their requirement and the domain expert suggestions. We have to identify our features, then only we can proceed with the modeling. Otherwise it will be very difficult, madam.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
absolutely fine, madam. Thank you.
Yeah, Shobha, you can take over.
Okay. So we know that wherever a data is included, data plays a very important role, and to take the data and to analyze the data, it is very much important when we do data analytics or any analysis of data. So in today's session, Sir has described the PIMA dataset, dataset, and how to use the dataset to analyze the diabetes, and how to select the features to analyze the data, and how the pre-processing has to be done, and for building the model, what are the techniques that are available, and how those techniques are going to affect based on the type of the data, and the importance of exploratory data analysis, which is a part of pre-processing, has been explained in a very efficient manner and effective manner. And Sir has shown visually the outputs of how the data can be analyzed and how the output can be given based on the type of input. Thank you very much for the informative session, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the participants. Thank you very much for the Geeta Kiran madam for inviting me to deliver session on this workshop. I hope I have served the purpose, and all the best to all the participants. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Can I leave the meeting, madam, now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, madam.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.